Okay, very good. So this is about N6NU, the remote panel, Node Red, and I also brought some other stuff with me to show how I do remote with my station. So about myself, call sign is N6NU. I have 9-band DXCC, 160 meters, on a roll with 336 confirmed. 237 may or may not happen. That was Mount Athos. So, we'll see if that one comes through. Then I'm active from 160 meters to 24 gigahertz, and I do EME on 1296 and 2304. I did EME from TX5E, the expedition. I did EME on 1296 and 6 meters. And then a member of the Pizza Lovers 259 or Short Peel 259 Contest Club. And I was a member of the TX5S Clipperton Island expedition that was about a year ago. 6-meter operator. I was 6 meters, yes. And Russ, I heard you, but you didn't hear me. Otherwise,
I hear you at the same time as you heard me.
Yeah, well, there you go. It was a very 5-second kind of thing. Yeah, I wish it would have worked, but thanks for trying. So what I'm showing you, at least have an idea what I'm talking about. This is a web browser picture. And so I have a server running, and when you log in, that's what you see, or one of the views of it. This is the one as of today. It has, has changed, and my station has changed, and so there's a different view to it today. But I get into that a little bit more. So in Redwood City, I have a Flex Radio 8600 radio with the Maestro. I have a Flex Radio Power Genius, which does 2 kilowatts, and it's SO2R. I have a Flex Tuner Genius, and then Flex Antenna Genius. And it's an environment that works very well together. I do have a green hair and rotator controller. I have a stepper with an SDA 100 controller. I have a digital loggers power switch and the stepper 3-element antenna. I have a Force 12 80-meter vertical dipole, and I have a 3-meter EME dish on 1296 while running about 500 watts, and I'm running 300 watts on 2304. That is an AG6EE. That's Peter. He makes all these amplifiers and LNAs, which are outstanding. I had his equipment with me at the expedition. They all worked, so no problem at all. Get an idea how the equipment looks like. So upper left-hand corner, I do have a Elecraft W2 power meter. And at the time I had when I, before, actually I have to say I had a fire in my garage, which had all the radios and all my equipment in it, and I lost it all. So the garage burned out on the inside. You couldn't see anything on the outside. We went on a trip, came back, and picked up something in the morning, Monday morning, opened the door, and everything was black inside. So the whole station got basically, just burned up, and it has been replaced with new equipment. But so at the time when I did this picture, I had the W2 1-meter, an Expert SPE amplifier, 2 kilowatts, which is a fantastic piece of equipment. The SDA and the Flex Radio 6700, and that's the green heron control on the bottom there. So all of them actually pretty much have serial ports in the back. You can do something with them. You just need to figure out how to. And then the Flex radio is hooked up with Ethernet and TCP/IP, so you can get into the radio and connect over the network. Today, this is what I have today. I call it the shack in a rack. Basically, it's if you look at the left-hand side, it's the door removed, but I just put it together. At the top, you see the Flex 8600 radio. Has rack mounting ears on it. And the next one down is the Power Genius XL. That's a 2 kilowatt amplifier, and it has 2 antenna inputs and 2 radio inputs and 2 antenna outputs. And it has 1 RF deck, but it can switch back and forth between them within 50 milliseconds. So if you do SO2R, it can switch the amplifier to the band that you're transmitting on. it's you don't even feel the difference. So that way you can do call on 40, call on 20, call on 40, call on 20. And it switches between these antenna ports for transmit, and receive is transparent. And then the bottom is something called the Tuner Genius XL. And again, this one has 2 radio inputs and 2 antenna outputs. And it does the same thing as the amplifier does. And they're all tied together by Ethernet. They talk to each other, they know about each other. When I push the tune button on the tuner, it takes the amplifier offline, puts the radio into transmit, and does the tuning on it. And when it's done, it puts everything back where it was. So you don't transmit into a bad antenna or something like that. It's all done. And since they are TCP/IP enabled, you can log in and do nice stuff with it for remote control. So that's what I have today. And on the right hand, it's the same thing. It's just for the doors put in. The lights are on, and on top they have the Maestro for the remote panel. I'm also involved with K6 LRG, which is at the top of the Altamont Pass in Livermore. Chris and I have been there's a wireless internet provider owns a container up there with power and everything, and they let us be in there. They're very ham friendly. So and when we go up the hill, we look after some stuff every so often. We're there. We will fix things, and so it's a give and take. It's it's just a bartering system. And as you can see in the left picture, there's a rack again. There's a amplifier, and everything is in a rack. And again, there's a shack in a rack. And on the right-hand side, you get an idea about the antennas and the towers. And the towers don't have to be very tall, because we're at 2,000 feet with dropping, terrain around us. So the towers don't have to be very tall. So the mission for me was that I started this, 8 years ago. So I needed to tie all the devices together. And by the way, the way DXing worked for me, and it made it possible for me with a small station at the time to get all the DX, was I needed to be the first one in the pileup. That was the key. I had to be on frequency, antenna tuned, amplifier going. And so when there was a spot, I needed to be the first one in. If I was a minute or two late, the mob had arrived, and I was not loud enough anymore. So that was my angle. Be there and be there fast, work them and in and out, and then let everybody else show up. So little hint, nudge, that can be a strategy. So I needed to tie all devices together. That happened. And so I also needed a remote solution. I have a good friend of mine, W6FEL, John. I don't know if you remember him. He used to be a card checker, member of this club. He got older and didn't want to maintain the station anymore, and that's how it happens. And so basically, he can log into my. I tried to make it happen that he can log in and operate from my station, and it's working now. I needed to also be able to, because everything is remote, you need to see if things are fine, if things are working. So there needs to be feedback about power, SWR, and potentially that you can just prevent bad things from happening. But that was a requirement. And then I needed control for the amplifier. The amplifier needed to follow all the bands, and at the time it was the Expert SPE, a 2 KFA, and I had a 1.3 KFA. They have built-in tuners. They remember what they have to do. They have multiple antenna outputs in the back, so you can switch antennas. And then you can, change the power levels and stuff like that, turn it on, off, bypass. So there was a very good amplifier for remote purposes. So you need to pick the equipment that works for you. I used an Alpha 9500, tried it, but it's while there's a remote on it and it's 0-port on it, it's not very remotable. Bad things might happen, and then it gets expensive. So on and off is another thing. Can you turn it on? Can you turn it off? Or can you bounce it? Basically, turn the power off and bring it back. Yes, John. Yes. the experts, so the question was, can you monitor in the SPE amplifier what the temperatures are? And the answer is yes. There's the RF deck gets monitored, and the rest of the get monitored, and when it gets too warm, the amplifier puts itself into standby. It's a very forgiving amplifier. Same for the Power Genius from Flex Radio. Same thing. I come from a C and C++ programming world. That's what brought me here. And but then I looked at it, and there was too much work. I had to write everything from scratch. It was really not easy to port it to other platforms like the Macintosh or an iPhone or whatever you have. So I didn't want to do that. And it's if you want to do your UI, then you need to do libraries and things, and it's not easy to do. So I gave up on that. I wanted to do it, but I didn't want to do it. So I found something that's called Node-RED. So it runs on Linux, on a Raspberry, it runs on Windows. You can make it work on a Mac. It has a serial port handling built in. It has TCP/IP handling built in. It has UI tools. Multiple users can log in, so you can do that. And it only requires a web browser as a client on the remote, so everybody can do that. Every platform has it. You just log in. There you go. So that was a very good platform. It's basically it's a glorified web server, and it was initially developed by IBM, but made public as open source and now it's part of every distribution in Linux. You can just say install node, and then done apt-get node or apt install node, and then it will install itself, and it's fairly easy to configure. You can run it as a service in Windows. It's something called a message-based system, and I get into that one. And if there's something that the Node-RED doesn't supply by itself, you can always jump in and hand code JavaScript. It comes with a point and drag and click editor on it. It's a graphical editor. It's message routed. Again, I get into this a little bit later. There are predefined objects you can use. You can use buttons. You can use list boxes. You can use sliders. You can use meters. So they're all predefined for you. These user interface objects. And if you don't have it out of the box, there's a huge following these days that you can find pretty much everything. So if you look at it this way, this is how it currently looks like, what I have, and then maybe you should describe what you're looking at. So if you look at the left-hand side, it's the rotator. That's a module that I wrote that it shows you where the rotator is headed right now, 238 degrees. And I put buttons in there. It says, for Oceania, for Japan, Europe, United States, Caribbean, South America, and then stop. So I can predefine go and click on it, and the rotator will go. This one is also listening to the UDP broadcast on N1MM. And when you're in N1MM, you can go and type in the where you enter the call signs. You can just put a direction in there, and it will go and execute that for you out of N1MM. You don't even have to leave N1MM. So it listens to those broadcasts and will just follow. The next one over to the right, excuse me, is called the Power Genius XL. So you can turn the amplifier to idle and active. It shows you the forward. It shows you the SWR. And John, look at it. It even says the PA temperature on there. And so it shows you the line voltage. It shows you this amplifier does 1500 watts on FT8 without sweat. Not that you want to do that. The other one is basically it has a harmonic load built in. So basically whatever is not making it through the filters gets dumped into a load. So it's a very clean amplifier at the end of the day, and it doesn't reflect it back into the PA. You see basically the voltage that for the RF deck, how much current you're using, and then you can get different fan speed algorithms. You can have the fans on all the time at high load if you're contesting, or you have them spin up and down, for example, depending what's going on. And then it has band A and band B, as I mentioned before. You can have two transmitters on it, or one flex radio with two capture units on it. You can run on two different antennas at the same time, and the amplifier supports that. Next one over is called the Tuner Genius. Again, this is a tuner that's made by Flex Radio, handles the 1500 watts coming out of the amplifier. Again, it has two radio inputs and two antenna outputs, and you can SO2R with this. So a single operator, two radio, you can flip between these antennas back and forth, and it switches within 50 milliseconds. And then again, you can put the tuner in line, out of line, and it shows you if there's a tuning solution, what is the capacitor, what's the inductor, and the other capacitor. So you can see what's going on. Then the next one over is called Antenna Genius here. That's again a Flex product or a 403A product, where you have two radio inputs and 8 antenna outputs. And then you can tell this thing which antenna of which frequency band is on which port of this antenna switch. And when your radio goes to 20 meters, the Antenna Genius knows which output to use, at 20, 40, 30, or you can just, you can even divide a port or two ports into, let's say, 80 meters and 75 meters. So if you're anywhere in 75 meters, you would use antenna port 7, and if you're on 80 meters, you use antenna port 8. So you can split the bands if you have, wide bandwidth and where the antenna gets narrow, for example. Or one antenna for FT8 and one for the rest, right, for phone. And then it shows you here which antennas are available. In my case, I have a stepper and a vertical, and it picks the antenna that's appropriate for the band I'm using. And you can see that either one of the sides can have a stepper, one or the other, which radio gets it, A or B. And then on the right-hand side here, it's called stepper. What this one does, it logs into the radio, looks at what the current transmit frequency is, and it will send commands to the stepper controller and adjust the antenna automatically. And it will show, if you look at it, it says DIR is the director, and then it's DRI is the driven element, and the REF is the reflector. It will show you the motor movement. So when your motors are moving, it's red. So meaning is your antenna is moving from one spot to another, you don't want to transmit, for example. And so you can see when the antenna is ready. Then you can, and by the way, I reverse engineered the protocol that they had, because I found functions in there that they don't publish. You can use from the application, but they don't show you how to do that. So, and I found it and I published that one out. And then on the right-hand side here is basically the radio setup where it can turn the radio on and off, and it will show you if it's what the name of the radio is, and then which clients are logged in. The SmartLink, or for example, they do. You can have two users logged into the radio at the same time. So, for example, I can be working at DX, and my friend John logs in and can listen in live on the radio. Or John can be listening to the antenna 1 and I can listen to antenna 2. So you can have two users in the radio at the same time. Of course, the transmitter is only one, and you need to go and have an agreement. But anyway, but it's multi-user, and if you operating with a friend, if you're just trying to hunt a new country, you can have fun together, right? You can both listen, both see what's going on, and congratulate each other when we work them. This is the editor that goes with it. So it's a point and click. So on the left-hand side, you see what controls are available, and then you drag it over. And then, for example, when you look at this one here, it says stop or SA. Yeah, you click on it, and it sends a message to the rotator command thing, right? So you define what it does. So you point and click, use what's there, and without having any custom controls, you can do most of it. So this is an editor that basically it runs as part of the Node-RED. So when you go in and just connect to your Node-RED server, you get the editor. And if you go to the /UI URL, then you end up in the user interface. Here's for example, for the rotator. So here I clicked on this SA130 control. It brings up the editor for that control, and it says, well, this is the group it's in, functionality wise on the display. Excuse me. The size is two units by 1 unit. And then the label is it's SA-130. It says South Africa, South America, 130 degrees. And then when you click it, here you can see payload. It sends the value 130. And this 130 will be sent to the control that actually drives the rotator controller. So that's how you connect the user interface to a control. Pretty straightforward. As you can see here, so this is the SA130 here in the left-hand side. This button, when you click it, it sends the value 130 to the rotator controller using a serial port in this case. The hardware platform I chose to run all this on is called the Raspberry Pi, the Pi 4. Any Pi is fast enough for this. I just chose the 4 at the time because it was current, was fast enough, and for $35, it's hard to beat. It's a complete computer for $35. It runs Linux. I know Linux. I work for a Linux company actually. It's very stable. It's very remote management is easy too. It runs SSH, or you can run VNC like a remote screen over to it. It has a very large developer community. It's very low power. You can run it all the time. It takes about 5 watts to run this thing. So it's easy on the power bill. And then it does have Ethernet, Wi-Fi, USB, and you can have plug-in boards that go on top to do all kinds of stuff. So it's a very good platform to use. This is how a Raspberry Pi looks like. It's about the size of a pack of cigarettes, if you still know what it is these days. So basically you get all the connectivity you want for $35 with a complete operating system on it. This is more a diagram how things are hooked up. So here you can see this is the browser. This is the user-facing part of it. The browser talks to the Raspberry Pi that's running Node-RED on it. Then the Raspberry Pi, if you go down there, it says Flex 6700. So it's an Ethernet connection, TCP/IP to the radio, and gets information from the radio. And then the Raspberry Pi uses serial port interface, have like a 4-port. Yes.
I was going to ask, how many serial ports do you have on the Raspberry Pi?
So I'm using, the question was, how many serial ports do I have on my Pi? I have 4. I'm using this as one USB connector, and it's an FTDI based, and it's like a spider. It goes out to 4 serial ports.
Okay.
But you can have more. FTDI is the way to go though. And they're not that expensive. They're $30 for a 4-port. The SDA, so there's a stepper is talking serial port. The rotator, the green heron is talking serial port. The wattmeter from Elecraft has a serial port on it. So it works great. And then the amplifier has another serial port in the back. So there's your 4 connections. And then the stepper controller talks to the antenna itself. The green heron talks to the rotator. In my case, it actually turns the whole tower because the motor is in the bottom. So there's no movable parts on top of the antenna. It's all meant, you can all do it from the bottom. And then the wattmeter is hooked up to 2 couplers for both antennas that I have. And then in this case, I have a stepper antenna for 40 meters to 6 meters. And then I have an 80-meter vertical dipole that's an N6BT design. I don't think it does it anymore, but it's a very good antenna. It's ground independent, so it's a dipole that's vertical, so we don't need a ground things. So there's different ways to solve the problem that might exist. So, for example, you can have one server talking to all devices. We see here 4 serial ports. So one server goes out to 4 different devices. Or you can have, I designed it in a way that if you want to, you can have one of these Raspberries to talk to one device. And the nice thing is if your amplifier is in the garage, you have a Raspberry in the garage for the amplifier. If your rotator controller is near the tower, then you have another one near the tower. And so this way, it doesn't have to be all in one place. You don't have to run all those cables as long as you have Ethernet in some shape or form, a TCP/IP, I should say, it could be Wi-Fi or something like that. It can be distributed on your property, and you can put devices where they're near. So the serial port cable only has to be 1 foot or 2 feet, versus the rest is all done with Ethernet. And then it's all tied together with something called MQTT, and it's hard to explain sometimes. Basically, it's like a trough where everybody feeds from, right? You put what you want to do, all the commands you want, they go into something called a queue, and then all the Raspberry Pis that are in your system will latch onto this queue, and all the Raspberry Pis will see all the requests coming in. So when it says, I say rotator 1, go to 120 degrees, the Raspberry Pis that are not serving the rotator don't care. They see it coming in, ignore it. The Raspberry Pi that's interested in rotator commands, oh, okay, do you want me to move? Fine, I'll move the rotator. And then when it moves the rotator, it also feeds feedback into a queue where it says, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I have arrived. So you can monitor that if you're interested in it. So that way, so everything gets dumped into a queue, like a work queue, like everybody's going to put on one desk, and whoever is interested in information can pick it up and work on it. So, and then most of my code that I wrote at the time uses 1 server per device, but this has changed over time, right? And everybody has different needs. If you use a single server, basically it's what it is. It's like one Raspberry Pi talking to all the devices. This shows you how MQTT works. So if you see this, there's something called the queue in the middle here, and it's dumping commands from the Raspberry Pi Node-RED into the queue, and then you have all these other Raspberry Pis for the stepper, for the rotator, for the wattmeter, sitting there and looking for commands. They're all waiting for, it's like a party line, right? The telephone in a party line. You say, please move the antenna, and whichever Raspberry Pi is in charge of the antenna will pick up and do its thing. And yeah, this is again, this is how it looks like. So what I have here is it's a video that shows in a way how things move and are a little bit animated. Let me see if I can go play this one here real quick. So in this case, this is the web interface, and this one on the left, this is on my Macintosh. That's a Flex Radio client piece that I can run the Flex Radio on my Mac. So there is a button there that I just turned on the radio. So now the radio is booting up. So there's a web switch in the shack that when I turn it on, closes the contact. And the radio has one of those inputs in the back. It says an RCA input. If that's closed, the radio turns on. So that's remote on and remote off. And so the radio will come up eventually. And you can see that I'm looking at the rotator right now. I'm clicking on 30. And so it moves from 30 to 31. It's just the motor stops, doesn't stop on a dime. It kind of slows down. Now we can see the rotator is moving to 50 degrees. That's the antenna pointing at 50 now. Then the power amplifier is turned on and available. Now I'm connecting to the radio. And you can see on the left, that's the Flex Radio. And then as you can see there, I'm changing the band next. I can go to the band change from 17 to 30 meters. And as you can see on the right-hand side, the little red things, those are my antenna elements moving on my beam. So I can see that the flex radio elements are in transition. They're not there yet. Once they turn green, the antenna has arrived where it needs to be and it's safe to transmit. Then I'm going and sending some CW here with the keyboard CW. And as you can see, the amplifier is putting out 700 watts. You can see the metering there. It shows on the bottom what I'm putting out, the SWR I can see, and then it shows on the amplifier that I'm putting out about 700 watts. And then I can turn the radio off and disconnect. So I have complete control of the station using this Node-RED basically. And then I turn off the amplifier. It goes away, goes to sleep. And then I can let the station sit and go home. Yes.
Can you transmit and listen to the radios through this, or do you have something else?
So the Node-RED is basically just a command and control. And then whichever application I'm using to get to the radio is the one that has the microphone and the thing. So in this case, this application you see in the upper left-hand corner, that's a Mac application, but it's a Flex Radio Mac client. And you use the microphone of the Mac and the speakers of the Mac to do that, to speak and receive. I brought it here, and then I don't know if people can see that. I brought an iPad with me here. I don't know if that's, yeah. Do you mind if I turn on it real quick? Give you an idea. So what I have here is, I can show it this way maybe. I'm using a multitasking on the iPad. So what I have is two applications running at the same time. This is the window. This is the client for the radio. Let me connect. It shows that the radio is here. And here's my. That's the radio. So it's the radio basically on the left, and on the right there's my control panel. Let me hit the tune button. So it just tuned it. It took the amplifier offline, tuned the radio, and came back. So this is an iPad version of it. Or I have something here, it's called a Maestro from Flex Radio. If you can see this one, I don't know, can you see this? So this is a Flex Radio made device, basically, that has buttons, knobs, and a touch screen on it. This will allow you to connect to the radio that way. And then I'm using an iPad just for the remote stuff, for example. So I can have this one next to me on the desk. And this has two modes. The first mode is you connect to it. It's the client. You have knobs on it to change it. There's a CW connectors in the back. There are headphone connectors and microphone connectors in the back. So it's you can do almost everything from there. Or you can connect to the radio and just use this with just the knobs. So you can have the Mac client or the Windows client or the iPad radio client, and then you hook up the Maestro, and it's just the knobs. So you can go and twiddle the knobs and do what you need to do. So it works very well, and as you can tell, the Flex Radio has something called Smart Link, and it allows you to remotely connect to a radio. So it goes through firewalls. You can keep your firewall closed. It goes through a broker, and then it makes the connection for you. So different ways to get to the radio. So for example, my friend John, at his place, he uses a Mac client, and then there's a WSJTX that's running on the Mac, and then they talk to each other. So on Windows, the Flex Radio will give you a virtual sound card. So when you connect to the radio, it also provides you with sound cards. So basically, you can say have these different slices from slice 1 through 4 or 1 through 8, depending what radio you have. And then it says, give me slice 1 audio, slice 2 audio, slice. Each one is a sound card. And that's the one, and then it has the microphone. And then it has another one where you can use the microphone that's on the radio to talk into the computer when if you want to record N1MM messages. So you can use the radio microphone to get the audio into the computer for your call sign and all these things. So that's one way of doing it. Have a Windows client. The Windows client will give you these virtual sound cards. And also there's another application called Smart SDR CAT. It gives you a CAT interface. So you can have virtual COM ports set up. You can put one COM port per slice if you want to. So you can do the slices independently. Or you can have something called OTRSP. That's it's a SO2R protocol to manage radios: left radio, right radio, left radio, right radio. Who has the audio? Left ear, right ear, both ears. You can do all this one. It's coming out of N1MM, and it's basically they work with them. N1MM has this SDR screen. I don't know if you've seen that one. It has like an SDR waterfall display out of N1MM, and they work with the guys from Flex Radio to get whatever it's on the radio onto the screen with N1MM. So again, very useful if you want to click on stations and find where they are. So you don't have to leave N1MM to get all the goodness of SDR. Excuse me. Same on the Macintosh. You have a Macintosh Smart SDR application. WSJTX works on the Mac, and on the iPad the same thing. If the iPad app is actually smart enough, it has a built-in FT8 client, so you can just carry your iPad around. You do FT8. You can use the microphone. You can do keyboard CW, and then use the remote app to turn the radio on, to take care of the amplifier and other things. So it's totally remoteable these days, and so this Node-RED code that I wrote initially, I shared with the people from Flex Radio initially, and then we set up a groups.io, and I haven't updated it yet, but as of last year, we had 2,200 members on that group that are using this tool. Other people have stepped up and have put in more controls for more equipment. I mean, I wrote code for equipment I have, and showed people how to do it. And it's the hardest part is finding out how something works. Once that nut has been cracked, usually follow-ons are much easier, right? And so people really stepped up. There's this fantastic, support for other amplifiers, for aircraft amplifiers, SPE amplifiers. For example, the whole thing that I have with Flex Radio, I used their controls. I went in, I lost my SPE amplifier. Well, I went in and saw if there was something for the Flex, and there was. So I used it, thanked the guy who did it, right? Everybody's happy. So yeah, it's called remote Node-RED-ham radio if you go to groups.io. And you can download it. And if there's an email list that goes with it, if you have any questions, people will be happy to answer your question. Haven't looked yet. I talked to Eric at the conference last year at Visalia, and he told me that when it comes up to when they really need it, we'll talk. So I'll help him. I mean, I've known Eric for a long time now.
Somebody has done some basic K4 control. I saw it on the.
Okay.
I'm in the group.
Yeah.
But I don't know how extensive it is. I haven't looked yet.
Yeah, and I mean, if they need anything, I'll be happy to help. That is, I think, pretty much it. So, any questions?
So one of the things with the K4 is there's no on command on a K4. There's only an off command. To turn it on remotely, you have to pull a pin in the serial port low for 100 to 200 milliseconds. So I'm looking to do that now. I have a Node-RED set up, and I'm using it with my SPE amplifier and my LP 100 watt meter.
Do you get the SPE turned on and off?
Oh yeah, no problem.
I do the same thing. I'm using a Perl script.
Yeah, and I can use it on the iPad, and
yes,
it works great. But now I want to be able to turn the K4 on.
Yeah,
So I'm looking at maybe doing an opto isolator or something to, on the Pi. To,
Just take a Raspberry Pi name.
yeah,
and
it's just,
Pico and.
well, no, the Pi that has no red on it. The Pi that has no red on it, I'll just take a pin out of it. It has lots of
Yeah,
my own
but you
pins.
you have to write a little piece of code to generate the.
do you need to use like DTR, RTS, one of those lines?
No, no, it's the ACC port on the radio.
Oh, the accessory port,
You
okay.
just pull pin 8 low.
Okay. Yeah, if you go to the digital loggers, they have this IoT kind of relay thing. And it has basically dry relay contacts, and I do everything that way, by the way.
Who is that?
Digital loggers,
I'll look that up.
and he's the ham, he's in Santa Clara, actually.
Super.
Digital loggers, and then if not, just email me and I'll send you the model number. So it's by the way, it speaks Node Red, MQTT, in the device if you need to. Or I have ways to turn it on and off, so just ask me, I'll be happy to give it to you. And it has eight dry contacts on it, relay contacts.
Nice.
And that's how I turn my radio on and off.
Yeah, I don't want to actually pull the pin low. I just want to pull it low for
Yeah, you can actually, there's a bounce command. If we say bounce, it will go down and come up.
Perfect.
So it's all, yeah, there's a lot of help out there. You just need to find it. All right, any other questions?
Frank, anybody on Zoom?
Yeah, any questions on Zoom? If you ask, we'll hear you.
Silence on-
Silence is deafening.
Well, maybe type it in the chat.
I don't see any chats either. All right.
All right, so thanks for having me. And if you need anything, email.